do you get your team to buy into the way you play? I'm not the biggest fan of the phrase buy-in, because it to me references almost that you have to be a salesman. And I look at more as a team project. So even as I go through this, I like to think of it more as internal belief. And so I think there's two ways that you create that. And so one are the tactical details, your style of play, the way you think about football, how you like to arrange your team. When I think about the way that we play football, a lot of people say that we are a pressing team, we're a vertical team, we're an intense team, we're a gegenpressing philosophy. I think of it as we are a pressing team, and I think we are very much committed to that. But we don't press to gain possession. We press to score goals. And I think that's a fundamental, important detail within our philosophy and within our strategy. Is it's not pressing to gain possession. It's always with the idea that we're looking to go to goal as quickly as we can. I learned a lot from Ralf Rangnick and from the Germans, the way they think about football, that vocabulary and details of explaining how we play about football are incredibly important. I'll talk more about how elaborate that is, but how important the efficiency is as we go through things. But the vocabulary that I learned from the Germans is really important to my development. And then it winds up, this phrase, and it's an American inventor that came up with this phrase, but the success is in the sum of the details. The details are important, going through the details, communicating the details. And the more that there's a common understanding, I think the easier it is for the players to execute. Then the next part is the mentality. They almost make fun of me here in Austria because I use this word so much. The mentality becomes so important. So I'll go through all in the togetherness of a team. I really try to create ownership at a really high level from within the team. Youth development is a major part of what we do here. Then growth of the entire team and the individual. I use this word empty the tank to talk about how to commit yourself at the highest level. And then I talked about before difficulty. So let's start to get in some of the details with the tactics. We have this term SARD. It's an acronym. The S stands for sprinting. A lot of people will talk about our football and the way we run and the way that the loads that we have, but it's not just how far we run, it's how intense and how many sprints we have per game. So that is really, really important, especially when we're in pressing modus. Next is the German acronym, all together. And so this part is really important, that when we start to sprint and when we start to attack against the ball, that we always do it together. The next part is Reingehen, and this is a really important detail. A lot of teams talk about pressing. I watch them press, and their players stop 1 meter before they get to the opponent or 1 meter before they get to the ball. And what's so important is that you go through, that you attack the ball, that you always are thinking about winning and not so much worried about protecting passing lanes, worried about getting beat. Because when we all go together and we commit all the way, our chances of being successful are much higher than if we stop short and if we only go 2 or 3 guys at a time. And the last part is dazukommen, which is sort of like the second and third player, to call the second wave of people coming through. Let's go some videos of this, okay? So first, what I have here on your screen is a little bit of data. So you see our distance, okay, of 124 meters. That's our entire distance for our team in one game without the goalkeeper. Then here we look a lot at our sprinting distances. This is very high speed sprints, and these are sprints in general. So that's above 20 kilometers per hour over at least a 5 meter distance. So total here, what you have is 667 sprints for 10 players. So the sprints are something that we always look at. But then what you can also look at here are this number 3,700 and this number 7,400. This is the 3,000 number are our sprints with the ball when we're in possession, and the 7,000 are our sprints when we don't have the ball. And as you see, it's double, roughly double. And that winds up being really important. We talk so much about our sprinting, but it has to be that we're intense, that we sprint against the ball, that whenever we're attacking, that we're always thinking about how hard, how fast, how intense can we be against the ball. Everything I'll take you through here is when we're in our 4-2-2-2 formation. Now, for me, the formations aren't so important. I've played 11 different formations, so the formations aren't nearly as important as now the fundamental habits that we have within the formation. What you'll see is we're recovering and getting back. I know it's difficult when you think about a team sprinting for 90 plus minutes, always every game, but there's a rhythm to the game. And that's what's, I think, really important. And that's what we try to commit to, is there are times when we come more compact, and it's not that we're intense all the time, but certainly when we are intense and when we are ready to play at a high level, that we're always ready to then sprint. Okay, so you'll see here that the opponent is getting ready for a goal kick. He plays the ball. The entire team now is starting to attack, closes the ball down, wins the ball, turns it quickly into a moment in front of the goal, and scores. Okay, so sprinting together, 100%, making the last step. And when you win the ball, not thinking about possession, thinking about how quickly you can score a goal. So that's a good example, okay, all together. So this was a preseason game we played against Chelsea. It was a wild game. I think we wound up losing the game 5-3, and it was like 5 weeks into my time with our team. But what you'll see here is this part about all going together. Okay, so we're in a little bit more of a compact state here. And you can see that when they all start to go, they go together. This part right here. So even though the player doesn't win the ball, it's important that he goes after the ball all the way and that he commits to that, knowing that the others are coming with him. So if he doesn't trust that the other players are coming with him, then he's not going to go in and try to win the ball. So the trust and the commitment tactically for the entire team to go together it frees players to be aggressive and frees them to want to try to win the ball. So another point, so if you watch Marcelo Bielsa with Leeds, he is a big believer of against the ball, but he does a lot of man marking across the field. So you could stop a game at any moment with Leeds when they're against the ball, and you could almost say, all right, every player is matched up with an opponent and they're playing 1v1. We call our pressing ball orientated, right? So you can see right here in this space that we're 5 against 3. And we believe that when we attack all the way and we commit to winning balls, that we're going to outnumber opponents in spaces on the field, which is going to increase our chances of winning the ball. Right? And then we often leave players on the opposite side of the field open. Then when we win balls, we're always trying to play forward and attack and go as aggressively and quickly as we can to goal because we feel that the opponent is disorganized. Okay? So that is all together. That's the second part. Then Reingehen. So Reingehen is going in. It's making the last step. It's attacking the ball. It's going through the player. Okay? Not fouling is important, but being really physically aggressive to not just press the opponent, but to actually focus on winning the ball. So we have a last meeting before games, and a lot of times I try to prepare them mentally or emotionally. So this is a video that we showed almost as the last thing before the players went out on the field as a little bit of motivation and also clarity as to what we were looking for. The quote at the beginning in German, when one goes into tackle, and every time he loses that tackle, then it's hard to win the game. So that's the first quote that's there in German, and then the rest of the video. Enjoy. Another part of that video that I hope you picked up on, every time that our players step in to win the ball, they immediately play the ball forward and they immediately look for attacking advantages. So again, it's not pressing and winning the ball to gain possession. It's pressing and winning the ball to see how quickly you can get to goal, how quickly you can create chances, how quickly you can score goals. because again, we believe in those moments the opponent is unorganized. Next, Datsu kommen, the second wave. So this is from a game over the weekend. You'll see here, this is actually more from a counter-pressing moment. So we're in possession, we lose the ball, we counter-press right away, we win the ball back, we play forward, quickly to goal, 3 touches, goal. Let's just go to this moment here where we lose the ball, okay? So if we're only counter-pressing with the one man and the player is clever and able to find a way to dribble out of the moment, then our counter-pressing or our pressing isn't functional. So you have to make sure that all the players around the ball are ready to compress, are ready to attack, and that they're ready to support each other in case they're a little bit unlucky, they're not able to win the ball, in case the player is clever. So again, this is ball-orientated counter-pressing. So it's the second man that steps in. So if it was just one man, if it was just two, if it was just three or whatever, but it's a commitment for everybody. And you can see how quickly our team goes from being wide open in possession to compressing so that we can win the ball back as quickly as possible. And then playing forward and leading to the attacking chance. So you can see how this acronym SARD, okay, sprinting, which we saw on that last play as soon as we lost the ball, all together, Reingehen, making the last step, attacking the ball, not stopping short, and the second man, the third man, the second wave, and then leading to the counterattack. So these are the tactical details so when you want the players to have the feeling that they can commit all the way, that they buy into, it's about the details of each of them understanding that they have to commit to it all the way. Then I'll take you now a little bit of some of the tactical details, not just the individual details, the tactical details. So we often use these animations. So here's an animation of 4-2-2-2 animation. So we're in red, playing against black. Okay, so here's a moment where the goalkeeper has the ball. He plays to the center back. They all attack. They look to win the ball. And again, look to play as quickly forward as they possibly can. So let's go back through this a little bit, okay? So first, you see that one of the principles is that we sprint and attack and press when the ball is passed, not when the ball is received, okay? Because if we wait until the player receives the ball, we're gonna give that player too much time and not arrive in time to affect the play. Okay, then you see 2 players attacking in that moment, which is again the ball orientation, and you see how compressed we are on the field, and the players on the side of the field aren't as much in play. Now, always these players on this side of the field, they have to trust that we're going to win balls, and they have to be able to react in case the ball gets switched. But it's really important that all of the players around the ball make the last step and are aggressive to win balls so that we can increase our percentages of doing that. Here's another animation that's a little bit more when we're in a compact state. So the opponent starts to play a little bit out of the back, and we're waiting for the right moment. And then you see everyone attack. So let's go back through that a little bit. If this player wants to attack this ball here, that he has to put himself roughly half the distance from what the pass distance, roughly half the distance of that. Okay, so you can see that the number 9 is about half the distance of what the pass length is. But he also has to try to control more than just one player. It's important in these pressing moments that every player, especially ahead of the ball, is trying to control as many players as they can so that when we press and wherever the opponent decides to play, we have the correct distances that we can attack wherever the next ball goes. Okay, so now the 9 is in that good position. The 10 puts himself in position to attack the goalkeeper. One of the things we often see is that they play long. So it's important that our players to be good with aerial duels, right? And then when they win balls, we have to have the entire team be compact, and we tell those players to head the ball forward. Major percent of the time, our 4 against 9 is going to win this duel. Don't head the ball down too much into the midfield space, because often the opponent is also closing down and looking to win second balls. And if we head the ball down into our midfield and we lose that, then we're actually inviting the opponent to do to us what we want to do to them. So again, it's not just tactics, it's about strategy, and it's about arranging your team. So here's a training exercise. And you'll see over on this side of the field, almost exactly what the animation was of 3 players really compressing and trying to win the ball and then playing combinations from there forward. Okay, so this is in a 2-2-2. It's against 7 when you include the goalkeeper. The white team is trying to dribble through the gates here, and we're playing as wide as the 18 box. Okay, so here the team's waiting. The first player attacks, the next, and see here, right? That this is almost exactly what we drew up with the 3 against the 2. Then they play combinations quickly forward. They're closing down. So again, you don't see that our team is very open. We're compact. We're looking to play vertically, directly to goal. That even if we lose it, we'll be aggressive to go win it back. Okay. And look where the 6 end up at the end of the play. So it's with and without the ball, it's always about ball orientation. Let's go to, I have 2 then examples of in a game. Here's our 4-2-2. We're waiting for the right moment to press. When we do, we sprint. We attack together. We stay in pressure. They try to play out. The first comes, the second comes, they go all the way. Reingehen, dazu kommen. And that's Hee-chan Wang. Okay. And again, look at the attackers and the positions forward that if we lose balls, we're ready to counter press. We've closed the space. Everyone's ready for the next action. Okay. That's a little bit more compact. Here's one of our games in Champions League, our first game against Genk last year in 2019. And in this game, the left center back, we targeted and we said that we were going to attack the next pass that he released. This is my favorite goal that our teams have scored in my history. So you can see us waiting for the next pass. Okay, so basically what we have is, again, a team that is all ready, that is compact, that is ready to attack wherever the next pass goes. So even here, you can see the outside back is ready to go in both directions. This player is ready to attack all different directions. This player is ready when necessary to attack here. We have a player here. If they play the ball here, we're going to close space. But the best part is that our 6 comes to close the space here. And when the ball gets played, he's in position and he almost blindly plays the ball forward, and our players ahead of the ball know that they have to be ready for the next action. And in one pass and in 2 seconds, we go from being out of possession to winning possession and scoring the goal. And the opponent is disorganized. That is ultimately the goal. So well done there. So here I have a screen, and this is part of another video that I've presented before a game that when I was in New York, and it goes through a lot of the different terminology that we use. I know that a lot of coaches have their own vocabulary and use it in a lot of different ways to describe what they want to achieve. Sometimes what I see is that when coaches use vocabulary, instead of simplifying things, it actually makes it more complicated. Like, I've been involved in football for 30 years, and sometimes when coaches will speak and they use their terminology, I'm completely confused. So for me, what I've learned from working with so many Germans is the art of vocabulary is making it simple to understand each other, not more complex. Some of these terms are a little bit longer than 1 syllable or 2 syllables. But as much as possible, I think it's really important to be totally clear and concise with exactly how you use your vocabulary. Some of the things here on this screen have to do with tactics. Some have to do with motivation. Some have to do with mentality. And in the end, the reason I put this together for the team when we show them before the game, that the details of what we have worked on are what will make us good in the game. We were playing a team that was very good in possession. And I was saying to them, our ability to be totally clear, to be totally on the same page, to now use all of our vocabulary of our philosophy in a way that where 11 players are all playing from one head was what was going to help us win the game. So that was the point of this screen. Now we start to go into a little bit of the mentality. So the having the plan part, this is a little bit of a wrap up of the things. The training and playing details are really important, right? And we have a clear methodology. We work on it every day, and then we supplement it into our tactics. At the core of it, it's about playing with tempo, right? It's about playing the game at a faster speed than the opponent can handle. It's about arranging ourselves at all moments so that when we lose the ball, we can win it back right away. And when we win the ball, we can attack and score goals right away. And so this idea of tempo, of outrunning, thinking of our opponents, of preparing ourselves tactically so that we're always ready for the next moment is essentially what's behind the plan. And that's our style of play. But even more than the style of play, again, is the strategy. It's not just the style of play, it's a way of life. If you want something, you go out and get it, right? You don't wait for it to happen. You don't react, you go. You are the aggressor. You are proactive. And I say a lot to our team here in German, which means being more aggressive is always better than being more passive. So this has to be a big part of the way we think, of the way we play, of the way we work, of the way we do. So this is a phrase that I came up with when we were in New York. And I had the players define it, right? I asked them to define exactly what it meant. And so they said, it's giving everything you have to the group at all times. And later on, they added to it, especially when it's most difficult for you. So this is about this idea of together. And this is the standard to which we hold each other all the time. And when I'll talk, the fact that they defined this, the fact that they made this, means that if one of them is behaving in a way, it means that I can look at them and say, hey, I'm not the one who made that standard. You guys did. You have to hold those standards for each other. You have to hold those standards for yourselves. And in there, as I use a lot, is the more that they give to each other, the more that they will receive. And certainly even here at Salzburg, with the way that we play and the way that things happen here, which is always the players know that if they show well, if they play well, especially they're so young and talented, that they're going to get another opportunity. But I constantly remind them that the success of the team dictates the success of the individual. And that is something that is paramount and something that I talk about all the time. Okay, here's the part about ownership. I always have a leadership council. I try to use 4 or 5 players from different walks. It's often experienced players, but I also try to include a younger player, maybe an international, and make it so that they help define who we are. This is something that we've created this year, which is a scoreboard where they get points for every game. The categories here are the first goal. They get plus for a set piece goal, minus for an opponent's set piece goal. If we give up a goal in the last 15 minutes, if they play a clean sheet. And then at the end of the year, if they get up to 60 points, then we have a big party for them and their families. But in the end, they made this. Again, okay, so they are the ones that hold themselves accountable. They are the ones that have created this idea of what they think is successful for each game. And again, I make sure to remind them every game, every day, that these things are important for the way we think and the way we play and the way we train. So that part is incredibly important. Youth development. Okay, obviously there's some well-known, especially for people in England here, of players that I've worked with. I'm going to focus on maybe one that you haven't heard as much, a guy named Aaron Long. He's now captain of the national team. He was bouncing around the 2nd division. His agent called me one day. He had been playing in the 6 or defensive midfield spot a lot, and I watched him play. And I said to his agent, and I said to the player, we'd love to have you here, but we want to groom you as a center back. Okay. And we're going to put you into our 2nd team for a year. And we believe that your potential is above a lot of the players in the 1st team. But we want you to learn the position. We want you to learn our ideals. And we want you to commit to the way we play and put it to practice with the 2nd team. And we believe that if you do that effectively, that you're going to grow into be a really good player for the 1st team. So he had options to go to the 1st teams of other clubs. He chose to come to us, and he trusted us. And we taught him how to play the position. We taught him about our mentality. He was defender of the year in the 2nd division. He came into the 1st division. 2 years later, he was defender of the year in the 1st division. There was rumors about Liverpool picking him up because they've had so many problems at the center half position. And now he's captain of the national team. So it's not just about Erling Haaland. It's not just about Taki Minamino. It's overall that we believe in youth. We believe in development. We believe in pushing these players every day, and we believe in giving them opportunities. And you're often surprised by what they can do. So all of these players, and I could put 20 more up there that we're all very proud of, that had achieved beyond, I think, what anyone thought they could at young ages. So a lot of fun to work with young players. You have to be patient. Growth versus fixed mindset. Okay. A fixed mindset person is someone who is talented, and when they encounter a moment where they had failure, let's just say on a football pitch, or they lost and something didn't go their way, they think to themselves, well, I'm talented. I'm good at what I do. Next time I'm faced with a challenge, I'll figure it out because I'm smart enough and I'm good enough and I don't need to listen to anybody. The growth mindset is the person that whenever they fail or whenever it doesn't go perfectly, they're constantly thinking about how could they commit more carefully to what they're trying, what can they learn from the process. And it sounds really simple, but especially in high level football, you meet way too many fixed mindset people. The growth mindset people are what we try to create. The people that look carefully, that want to learn, that want to get better, that want to challenge themselves. And in the end, a phrase I use all the time is good people make good players, not the other way around. And certainly, even when I go back to that youth development chart, they were very much committed to the process. They very much were eager to figure out how to get better and how to grow, how to learn, how to get better. So this is incredibly important. This is maybe the most important part, and it seems very simple, but it's not so easy to execute. Okay. Last part is fatigue. I'll just tell a quick story about Roger Bannister. 1901, someone broke the 4-minute, 10-second mile. 44 years, okay, people have been trying to break the 4-minute mile, and they got it down to 4-minute, 1 second. Then between 1944 and 1954, almost everyone in the world was trying to break the 4-minute mile. And there were articles written that it had to be a perfect day, that everything had to be perfect, that it was humanly impossible, that no one could do it. Roger Bannister did it in Cambridge, England, on a rainy day, on a cold, rainy day. He broke the 4-minute mile. Within the next 18 months, 23 players broke the 4-minute mile. What it proves is that fatigue is not always a physical barrier. It's more of a mental barrier. Teaching our players that they have more to give. They can get deeper. They can empty the tank, and what that means. We use to say that every day you come to work, you just give everything you have to the group. You give everything you have to the process. You commit to it all the way with every ounce of energy. Then you go home, you enjoy your life, you relax at home, you spend time with your family and your friends. Then you come back the next day and you do it again and again, okay? It also means that when you're on the pitch, you commit 100% to playing for each other, to giving everything you have to each other, to giving every ounce of energy you have to doing whatever it takes on the day as a group to be better than the opponent. And if you lose on the day, it was good enough. It was good enough.